All right, guys, Pop, Chris, and DiStefano. Before we get into the podcast, Eternal Life is coming back, rawgear.com. Make sure you guys check it out at the end of this month. I love you guys. Let's get into this podcast. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you drop a comment. Make sure you do a review on iTunes. I don't even know what it is. But yeah, if you're here on YouTube, I love you guys. If you're here on iTunes, thank you so much for listening. Let's get into this podcast. Yeah, I'm out.
Chris DiStefano, man. How long have you been doing comedy for?
I've been doing comedy now. I started stand-up in 2009, so 14 years stand-up.
Fuck.
And I started when there was no podcast, no internet, no nothing. It was just like...
Hold on. My guy's laughing right now because you sound exactly like me when I talk about all this shit.
Yeah.
Because I've been doing it, like, obviously I'm not doing comedy like
stand-up,
you are.
yeah.
But I was on Instagram before it was like a thing. You know what I'm saying? This is 2011.
Yeah.
So before like everyone's like, oh, I'm going to get on Instagram and be a fitness guy and do this thing. And I was just posting pictures of like random right? But it's so funny how you said I looked at him immediately. He knew. I was like, oh, God. Because I tell this story a lot.
Listen, and it's one of those things where I don't now where the business is, at least just in comedy, it's all good because now there's a new medium for people to get out there. But what is the thing, though, at least specifically with stand-up, and I would assume it's the same in your industry, is you can sell a lot of tickets getting quickly off viral clips or whatever. You can absolutely do that. But the crowd, if they come see you, they'll see you once, maybe twice. But longevity in a career, there's no shortcut in stand-up. The only way to get, like Shane Gillis just put out one of the best specials, I think, in the last 10 years. He's been doing stand-up like 14 years. It's like he didn't just come out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like you have to fail so much. And I think with putting out clips now on social media,
the internet age,
you can edit out the failure. You can make everything look great when it's like that's not how it works in a live performance at all.
Yeah. I guess I can't really speak directly to that, but the same sort of lines as far as in the fitness industry is it's clear to the same idea. Like you can you can look really cool for so long, but if you don't have anything else to offer, it's kind of different right. Meaning like if you don't have anything else to offer, then it's like eventually people just find the next guy who's jacked or the next guy who's like posting content. You're talking about in regards to comedy, like you can make it all look fine and dandy on the internet, but when you get in stand up, they're gonna be like, okay.
Yeah.
This sucks.
Yeah, and I think like, look, there's two sides to that. I think one side is, yes, true, what we're saying. But then the other side is like fans also nowadays, especially younger people, they're conditioned to like what is given to them. So what's given to them is 1 minute clips of whatever, and then they don't know any different. Like if they would see a great comedy legend like Dave Attell, they might be like, I don't get this guy. Why is he not doing crowd work? Why is he not, saying something, calling me or something? Like, I don't understand because Dave is like an actual stand-up comic. It's like writing material.
Yeah.
So I, as a young kid, would like Attell, but that's what was shown to me. But some 20-year-old kid today, he, likes what he sees on TikTok. So it's just
that's what he starts to emulate.
It's just different.
Who do you, when you reference like crowd work or like calling you, what comedians are you referencing?
Well, no, it's not even one. It's just we all do. I mean, even I have got. I did. Like anything else, sometimes my mind would be. You'd be like, well, I just want to be able to sell tickets, so let me put out crowd work clips, and I started doing that. And then I had Louis C.K. on the podcast, and one of the Mount Rushmore of comedians. Like you can whatever. Like amongst comics, amongst the experts, Louis C.K. is talked about as one of the greatest comedians to ever live. So when I spoke to him, he said it was kind of like, I didn't think of it because he's got so much wisdom. He was like, why would you put out something to the most amount of people that you can put them out, whatever your following is, the most amount of people you personally can reach. Why would you put out something you just thought of last night out immediately? Why would you do that? When we would never do that. When you make a comedy special, it takes me 2 years to write a comedy special, and then I put it out as my product, and then I clip that up, and this is my product. He's like, so why are you abandoning the principle that is the better principle, putting out your best product? Why are you putting out half thought out bullshit? Even if you sell, even if that gets you from 2,000 seaters to 5,000 seaters, even if that does, it's going to be all those people that want to see you do what you showed them, which is half bullshit crowd work. When you start to do your material that you're really proud of, they're going to be like, I didn't pay for this. What is this guy doing? Why is he doing a well thought out bit about the economy? I don't want to see that. I don't want him to call me a homo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But like, you have to change with the time though a bit.
You do
because it's not the same landscape anymore.
Yes, I think so. I agreed, but when talking to Louis, and he was right. He was like, but the cream always rises to the top. And if you just if you just put out the best version of yourself, always the best product for stand-up specifically, he's like, then they'll always catch up to you, because he was like, look, I've been doing this 35 years. I've seen the algorithm before. Right now you call it TikTok and the internet and all that stuff. He's like, there's always trends in comedy. There's always, people used to do, he said first, when comedy back in the day was like, it was only on the radio. And then when people started doing TV, when TV became a medium in the 60s, the comedians who were on the radio were like calling the comedians who were on TV hacks. So it's like,
it's funny how
it just keeps evolving. So, but if you just say, I'm putting out funny stuff. So I've stopped putting out the crowd work clips. The shit that's out there is out there. But I'm like, you know what, man? Even if I sell less, even if I'm like, I'm just going to put out what I think is the best version of me, and just kind of care less about what the people think. Because even if I believe as the, comic that it's a good joke and it only gets 8 comments, I don't control that part. I only control the output. I don't control the outcome. The algorithm will favor me or not. We're competing with a math equation. It's not even real, right?
Yeah.
So with comedy, where I'm like, some guys are really good at that and some guys aren't. Some people want to lean into that. Some people don't. I think you have to, I had to make a decision, like, what do I want in this career and what actually is going to make me happy?
Well, it's interesting you say that. Like, that's the thing that makes most people successful at any career they choose, is like if it's really genuine of them. Like, and that's what gives most longevity in all situations too. Like, if I talk about the fitness space, it's like, yeah, like I talked earlier, you can show up, you look jacked, you're the new young guy, whatever, you're doing this or that. But what's going to keep you around for 10 years is not going to be that aspect of you, because there's so many. It's going to be more about how are people relating more directly to you as a human.
Yeah.
So like, I guess in this case, if you're always kind of, the things that you put out are always the things that you feel like this is genuinely how I want to either come across as a comic or as a human, then like your longevity is built within that, because you never really skip a beat. You're not doing something just because it's trendy on TikTok.
Yeah, my peers that like hate on the new comics the way they're doing it, that's silly and ridiculous, because it's like you're talking about adjusting. We have to adjust. You just have to adjust. First it was podcast. First it was for comics, you would get a 5-minute set on Tonight Show with Johnny Carson or Jay Leno or David, like Everybody Loves Raymond, Ray Romano. 5 minutes on David Letterman, told a story in 5 minutes about his life. David Letterman loved it, gave him a sitcom deal. That's a sitcom, got picked up. Boom, Everybody Loves Raymond, $100 million guy. Bang. Nowadays, sitcom, nobody cares. Nobody's watching them. Yeah. Nobody cares. They're so irrelevant. It doesn't matter at all. Sitcoms are, it's like a waste of time.
Yeah.
And then, which have one in development.
Great, that's perfect.
Yeah. So and even doing comedy on late night. It's great if you want to do it. Doesn't matter. People don't watch. Fine. So then we adjust to, out of sitcoms come podcasting, right? The Rogans of the world. Everybody podcast. That's what gets everybody big. You got to have a podcast. Boom. Now that becomes oversaturated. Everybody's doing a podcast. Now the new thing with kids blowing up, comics blowing up now, small clips, 1-minute clips, most of the time crowd work, or some really, really funny kind of outlandish bit that's going to get your comments, get your algorithm pushing it because maybe it's divisive, maybe it said something racist. That's the new thing now. So that's the medium.
Or you got to be super handsome like Matt Rife.
Yeah, Matt Rife. But here's the thing with Matt Rife, though.
He's a good comedian, too.
He's a good comedian. And the thing with Matt Rife, you talk to any comic, if a comic hates on Matt Rife, then they don't know comedy. They haven't been in comedy. Matt Rife's been doing this 15 years. Yeah. So the kid put his work in. You know what I mean? So you may have just heard of Matt Rife now, but we've all known Matt. Don DePetto over here was working Matt Rife for 10 years when he was selling no tickets. So he may not be your cup of tea, or somebody might be like, I don't understand why... The kid put in the work. If somebody is out there doing comedy 2 years and gets that level of success, then as comics, there would be a bit more judgment. Only simply because there's no shortcuts in this. And what we would know as comics is this is going to fall flat. This is going to be bad because he doesn't have the backbone. Matt has the backbone. He has this. He's failed enough. 15 years, man. That's a lot of fucking failure.
Yeah.
So you're good. So he can handle all these ticket sales coming at him right now. But some of these other kids, man, they get big so quick. They want to do a live show because they think that's the best way to make money. It is a great way to make money. But the crowd, dude, if Jerry Seinfeld came on stage, the greatest comedian of all time, if he came on stage, you would be enamored for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, if he's not funny, you're going to not laugh at him and be uncomfortable, just like an open micer coming out there and bombing. Even the best only get 5 minutes of... look at how great I am. And then after that, dude, we've seen it in the comedy clubs where it's like somebody will come in, they have a show, you know, and they have the place sold out, and they think I'm just going to go up and say and do what I did on Twitter and TikTok. And then that 5 minutes, they are crushing in the first 5 minutes. And then after about 15 minutes, you'll start to see a lot of sweat, a lot of, so who's got a birthday? What do you do for a living? And then after 30 minutes, like, good night. And then the crowd will never come back again. It happens.
So you're saying there's comics that just show up strictly, like have a little bit and then just strictly crowd work?
It's
no
listen.
written work?
No, yeah, well, a lot of comics, right? There's crowd work. Crowd work is what's in right now. And by the way, there's people who are excellent at crowd work where that is their material, and they are like a savant at it. And
I feel like Schultz is really good at that.
Schultz is excellent at crowd work. Schultz also has hour specials.
Yeah.
So Schultz is diversified. So is Matt Rife. They could do the material and the crowd work. So, but when you have people that just lean into one, it's like, you know, being a professional athlete. If you can only do one thing well, if I can stop that one thing, then you don't have anything. Where a guy like Schultz is a good example. You can say, well, you know what, you can't do any crowd work on this show, and he'd be like, all right, I'll just do my material then. But the crowd work is like comedy on steroids. Like when you have a good,
sick.
Oh my God, dude! Because the thing is, the crowd is so they're there for that, and they're kind of like so already nervous about the comic going to talk to them. So as soon as you say anything to them, they start to laugh. Yeah. They start to laugh. Like I could be like, nice hat. And they're like, oh, because they think because I'm the one in charge, right? And they think what I'm saying is supposed to be so funny because they think I'm funny, but they don't even know why they think I'm funny. They're just like, I paid for comedy, so he or she must be funny. So I'll laugh at anything they say, even though there's no backbone to it. That's why it's good. Guys like Colin Quinn, Dave Attell, these are like old school New York City comedy legends that have been around 30 years. They're very quick, especially when the younger guys like me or Schultz come off tour and come back. Sometimes we're still in like the crowd work mode or like the mode only performing for our fans. So you'll get away, when you can start to sell tickets to your fans, you get away with a lot more shit because they're going to laugh at you. They're already invested in you.
Right.
But then when you come down to the comedy clubs and maybe they don't know who you are, your name wasn't announced in the lineup, and you come up with some bullshit, those guys very quickly, even if the crowd's laughing, it's be like, hey, that's hack. Stop that. Stop that hack bullshit. That's no good for our art.
They're really that hard on each other?
100%. You have to be, because it's like if you knew as a fitness guy that somebody's getting away with all these, they're this fitness guru, but they're on steroids. It's not fair. It's not right. It's not good for the art. Like where you're like, no, you have to do this the right way. And that's what it is with comedy. It's like, I can make a joke right now that can, make 1 million people laugh, but it's a hacky joke about Asians being bad drivers. It's not the everyday guy's job. I'm the expert in comedy. So I can fool you with bullshit, but it's bad for our art. It's bad for everybody. Because then if that hack stuff gets out there and that's what people want to see, you're like, well, then if I do a more well thought out joke about politics or my family or something, you're not going to think it's as funny as the guy who maybe stole a joke about, airplane food, which is like the oldest. Like there's jokes that go around when you're like, this is the thing. I've seen 1 million people do a joke like that, but you think it's a genius because you've never seen it before because you're not in the comedy clubs every night like I am. But I know what's going on. And so as older comics, like these New York legends, they're very quick to be like, hey, that joke's been done 1 million times. Dig deeper on that premise.
So it's just because how many people are seeing the joke? Because like it's interesting though if you say that, because what we were talking about earlier is that if you're still genuine within yourself as far as the comedy you're creating, then would it matter the jokes that someone else is making?
Oh, dude, the only sin in comedy is joke stealing. That's the only thing. You could be a pedophile. Doesn't matter. If you steal a joke, you're out. You're ostracized. That is the thing that we have to keep sacred, beyond sacred. If you steal someone else's work, if you emulate someone else's work and it's close, sometimes that's hard. It's very difficult to be like, but if you're stealing word for word and you're taking like the essence of a premise or the essence of a punchline from someone, it's the comedy community, we really think poorly of that. It's like, you're fucking done. You're ostracized. People will make it be like, you don't come fucking near me, you little piece of shit, because that's just the only thing. So I think, it's nice to have, older people in this business, like veterans in this business who have been around, who have seen, all these waves of different people getting hot for different reasons at different times, to remind you, to be like, hey, stay true to your comedic integrity. Do what you think is funny. Do your own work, nobody else's work. Don't steal anything. and then you'll be okay. It may take a little bit longer. You may not rise as quick. Like that's why most times the greats, Louis C.K., Bill Burr, these guys, you only started hearing about them when they were in their 40s because it takes that long. You know, it takes 20 years to start to get good, to fail enough, to go up and down. So that's usually, and then you get that longevity with them, that backbone.
All right, quick interruption for the podcast. Guys, listen, this is my house, guys, no joke. I literally eat trifecta every single day. I eat this white rice every single day. Very, very simple, very easy to use. If you guys are like, I'm curious about what am I gonna eat, how am I gonna eat, what kind of structure am I gonna eat, you can literally go to the site, trifectanutrition.com/Bradley Martyn. You can click like plans, you can click what kind of style you wanna eat, like if it's keto, if it's low carb, if it's protein focused, like you can do all of that. And they literally send it to your door. You can get a la carte, which is like full amount. So this would be like a la carte full amount of rice, or you can get sent to you in like prepared meals where there's carbs, there's protein, there's fat, there's everything balanced to whatever your diet is detailing, right? I literally eat this probably 4 times a day. Obviously not the salmon. I'll eat salmon, I'll eat the beef, I'll eat the rice literally 4 or 5 times a day. This I do eat 4 or 5 times a day, but it's super easy. Again, trifectanutrition.com/Bradley Martyn. If you're looking to take the guesswork out of what you're eating, and I'll be honest with you, as far as like seeing a result, seeing a goal, this is always going to be the thing next to drinking enough water, getting enough sleep, that is always going to dictate how quickly or how slow you get to that goal. So hit it up, trifectanutrition.com/Bradley Martyn. Let's get into the rest of this podcast.
Yeah, it's just obviously it's way different now. What's your process with then writing and creating content? Like, do you just think of something? Because I have a buddy who like I film videos with on YouTube, and he's actually really creative and very funny. He writes his own comedy before he goes and films. He's like YouTube skits.
Yeah.
But like, what's your actual process for stand-up, or just for your comedy in general?
Fentanyl.
Fentanyl.
Yeah, no.
Nice.
What I like to do is I found now for me, everybody's different. I write most of my material in the car when I'm driving.
You're in the car driving, writing stuff down.
I'm voice recording. I'm sending all these voice recordings, get to my phone. I'm like, I'll write that later. In the car or in the shower is when I'm starting to think.
This is crazy. You said the shower. Everyone's going to think I'm fucking gay for saying this, but like I take baths all the time, and I get my best ideas when I'm taking a hot bath. Really hot bath with candles.
Oh yeah.
With candles, some incense.
Yeah.
And I'll have my phone and I'll write down all my ideas.
Yeah.
Is that weird?
No, that's fucking dude. Whatever your process is, it's a very funny visual to think of you in the bath.
Yeah, in a bath with like bubbles. I swear.
A loofah on your cock.
No. There's a loofah on the side.
Yeah.
At some point, I clean myself with it.
You have to.
And it will be around my cock, but not all the time.
Yeah, I think whatever your process is, that I think like listen, some guys I know, they can only write in a coffee shop, pen to paper. They can't, and I never wrote that way. It was always like almost writing on stage, thinking of an idea, taking a chance with a new premise, or like I said, sending the voice recorders into my phone. And then I was like, oh shit, I got to start writing more. I got to start being like, this person that like writes every joke. And then I was listening to a podcast with Bill Burr, who's one of my favorite comics, and he was like, yeah, I don't ever write. I have like 7 comedy specials. I write, but he writes on stage, and he does a process similar to mine. He doesn't like write pen to paper, writing every single word of every single joke. He's kind of like in the flow. So that's really more the way I do it as well.
So you send voice notes like bullet points.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
You go through a lot of, at least in stand-up or any creative art form, you go through a lot of like, am I a fraud? What am I doing? Because there's no like objective measure. Like when you make the major leagues, you like made the team. You like I'm on the Angels. I'm on the Dodgers. I'm a Major League Baseball player. It's an objective measure. Comedy and art and entertainment, there's nobody that like, what's making it? I don't know. You can, what's making it? Because you make money, because you sell tickets, like, do you have to be Kevin Hart to make it? Like
it just goes like this.
Right. Where like with sports, you just know I'm on the team. I made it. That's what it is. And so for me, there's like a lot of like, what am I even doing? Why am I even doing this? This sucks. That sucks. And then you have like these spurts. I have like these spurts of like creativity, and and then it's when I do all my writing, like the hour that I'm doing now, I wrote most of it in like a 2-week spurt a year and a half ago. And then for almost a year, it's been like almost absolutely nothing but trying to perfect this hour that I'll shoot in a few months. But then the hour I did before that, I wrote it truly in like 24 months. Like every month was writing something, was creating something. And, you go through a lot of like, well, maybe I should look at that guy's process, or maybe I should be more like that. And now I'm just at the point where it's just, I guess you just get exhausted by it, where I'm like, what, dude? I got to find happy moments throughout the day. I got to be happy with what I have, because this shit, like you said, it's going to be up and down. And also I have kids. So once you have children, you're like, does any of this really I just care if my kids are okay. I don't care what else is going on.
It's crazy. We're going to talk about that in a bit, but it's interesting when you talk about like that process and just kind of being in the flow of it. Cause even for this podcast stuff, like I don't like, for example, you come on the podcast, I look up like very brief stuff about you and I don't like go in crazy detail. And I just kind of like wing a conversation. And I'm looking back now on all my content, it's always been just like fucking winging it. Like I don't bullet point things like, but this is something I did want to talk to you. You brought up your kids. Cause I was thinking about, I looked up and saw your kids, your family, what do you think about, and this is like a steering like really opposite direction of what we were talking about prior, but I guess not really, because it kind of has to do with the internet age in general. But as a father, do your kids go to a school, or are they private schooled? How is it?
My kids go to Catholic school.
Catholic school.
Yeah, I am Catholic school in New York, and then my baby is only 2, so she works. I have her working in a prison camp in China.
Not perfect.
Because
that's
setting her up for the future. Yeah, and
communism, dude.
Yeah, that's
what
dude.
I'm talking about.
I love it, dude. Ladies, fellas, mostly, you got it. I have the best view of Bradley Martyn's prostate right now. It's fucking ripped.
Nice.
He's got a 60 on his prostate.
Yeah.
And so I sent him to private school, a Catholic school, because I went to Catholic school my whole life. I know that Catholic Church has a black eye from some of the stuff, but for me, it's like there's discipline there. They're regimented there. They don't deal. They're not on like the public school system. Like it's kind of like it's kind of like we have we don't have to deal with, the bureaucracy of this humongous politically motivated
It's exactly
school
what I was
system.
going to talk to you about.
It's individual. So like we just deal the school, like the parents, us as the parents, we are our own governing body, and we kind of dictate to the staff what we think is best for our kids. And usually we're all in line because most of us are thinking the same.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm glad you brought up. It's exactly what I was going to ask you about, was because I had this conversation with someone. I was at some event and I talked to this guy who had kids, and he was telling me how like he had a conversation with his daughter, and this was after the fact because he listened to her in like a Zoom conversation with the teacher at the time.
Okay.
And his kid was like 8 or 9 or something, and the teacher was talking about like her opinion on like this person, and they had a car. They had like a nice Ferrari, and the teacher's opinion was like he should sell that Ferrari and give his money to a homeless person and give it back to his community. Like Ferraris are bad, and it's like, why are we telling a 9-year-old? So the thing that I'm talking about is the personal biases that like teachers or people have, like specifically I would say, and I mean all people have it, but in like the public school system, where like if people feel like, now we're talking about this political motivated whatever this or that, people kind of insert themselves in like what, like it has no place in inserting that sort of like conversation with children.
I hired when we were in school. For me, I think about school as putting my trust in you. If you were my kid's teacher, what I want you to teach them basically is reading, writing, and arithmetic. I want you to teach all this other stuff. That's not your job, man.
That's your job.
I don't need you to tell them what politics are. I don't need you to teach them about masturbation. I don't need you to talk to them about sex. I don't need that. That's my job as a parent. We'll handle that. You teach them the basics, building blocks they need to get through society, reading, writing, and arithmetic, and that's it. And that's why I like the school my kids go to, because that's pretty much what it is. They're not, if they see something, a behavioral issue developing in class, they'll talk to us. Hey, I think you should talk to your daughter about this because it doesn't seem like they understand. Boom, great. I'm not going to where sometimes now, you want to, listen, man, the whole idea of the state meddling in family affairs is like a new idea. That is not what, in George Washington's time, the state would never get involved in I'm telling, this is how crazy, this is a fact. In colonial America, if you killed your wife, it would be up to you. If you killed your wife, the state's, that's a family thing. It's a family thing. It's just, it's a family thing. You could if you killed a person in a bar outside.
That's a law. That's against
now
the law.
You're against the law. But I'm not going to get involved in anything at all with your family.
What happened to that?
It's just slowly but surely, the state gets involved in everything. I mean, even the fact the state dictates everything you do now.
Yeah.
So it's like that it wasn't designed that way. The founding fathers didn't want it. Obviously, killing your wife's an extreme example.
Yeah,
but it's still like that was true. They're never going to get involved in anything with your family. Where now it's like you'll tell me, the state will tell me what my kids should and shouldn't be doing. So I know that there's no way to really stop that. We're probably going down this roller coaster whether we like it or not. But I just look for the little ways that I can slow it down.
But that's such an interesting conversation because that's to just go like we're going there regardless is fucking scary because that like the state doesn't have our or any of our best interests at heart. They have money and financial gain and whatever the fuck. It's just like whether it's left or right, all this bullshit. I'm not getting into politics of it, but like no matter what, that's how it is and that's how it's like always been. So now it's like now people are. That's the thing I can't stand about how people allow so much of it in and like people fucking fight each other over this shit. And it's like, dude, this conglomerate of power is not cared in anything.
Well,
but
I was
themselves.
talking to Andrew Santino about this on his podcast, and it's even though it sounds scary, I think the only way if you want like full peace, the only way then is to forget about humans being politicians, being leaders, give it all to AI. Give it all to computer algorithms. Let them. Then you'll have as much diversity as you want, as much peace. You will have everything is in black and white. You do this, this, and this. And this is what happened, and you do this, this, and this, and this is what's going to happen. It's horrific. I don't want that to happen, but it seems like that's where we're going anyway. 60, 70 years, I doubt that we're going to have a government the way it exists today. I would have to assume AI is going to be heavily involved.
But then it's just someone else putting the codes in.
Well, no, not if AI starts to become autonomous. Then it's running itself.
I think it's just going to get rid of us at that point.
Where what's going? Maybe not.
Like Terminator shit.
It might, but I'm like, what? Like right now, you see, like especially like in America, it's like you can't have, 150 million people hating the party that's in charge. That's just not going to work, and that's what we're at. It's just not going to work. So
why do you think they try to make it feel like it's the other way around? Like,
I honestly think
because every single human I talk to is like, what the fuck's going on?
Well, because I think that now it's. I don't even know how you could prove it or whatever. I'm sure people way smarter than me can. But now it's like pretty clear that whatever you're looking at from your phone to your TV to everything is the algorithm showing you what you want to see. And your neighbor next door could have a 100% different algorithm seeing what they want to see. So you both believe your worlds to be as true. If you're on the right-leaning side of it, you cannot believe how people could vote for Joe Biden. You cannot believe it. And then on the other side, if you're on the left-leaning side, you cannot believe how people don't think Joe Biden is amazing. And you cannot believe how anyone would vote for Trump. Yeah. So you see, but they're as convicted as both, and they're right next door to each other. And they think they're looking at the same Netflix and the same Instagram, and they're not. They're looking at, the same website, but it's different content coming at you.
Yeah, based on what they watch.
Exactly.
And it just goes the same funnel.
So you have these people. So for me, the only minor reprieve I get is just not being on social media anymore. And as much as I can, not trying to take in 24-hour news.
Yeah.
Because, when you have to have a network like Fox News, CNN, whichever side of it, 24-hour news, when they have to create the news, they'll do anything they can to create it. They will create news when there's no news, and that's the scariest thing because you have people who just accept that as fact when it's like with all the AI, with everything, you don't know what type of edited video you're seeing. You don't know if there's really a war going. You don't know what the hell is going on.
Yeah, out here there was a what was it? A tornado or a hurricane? It was like a hurricane in LA. It was like they made it sound like it was gonna like just destroy LA. Yeah, there was like nothing out here.
Yeah, or like people saying that there was Ebola going through Burning Man. It's like none of this is real. This isn't real. But then you have people, like running to like drugstores buying masks because they think Ebola with a 50% death rate is coming across the country to, where I was in New York, and I'm like, none of this is real. Like it's if the news once. And this has been going on it's not just 24-hour news. This is even before this. Once the media decided the public loves the news, they love it. This is what sells a lot of money. This is what sells a lot of ad dollars. We're going to make news when there's no news. We're fucked as a society. And that's what it is. I mean,
and now it's just the problem with it now is that they've realized that no one's really turning on the TV anymore. So everything's going to social media and it's happening even faster.
The only hope is, I think, I have a 13-year-old stepson, an 8-year-old daughter, and then
I asked this question about the kids because I want to have a family. I want to have kids, and I'm like, fuck.
Right. I could tell, dude. You have 8 dogs.
Yeah.
So it's like once you start
3,
seeing a guy with so many pets, you're like, this guy fucking needs to have a family.
Yeah, I need to have a
and
kid.
he's gonna get eaten alive by his pets.
Yeah.
So
wait, hold on. Talking about that, I seen a clip. I don't know who the fuck it was. It was a guy talking to someone about your dogs or your cat's eating you after you die.
Really?
This was going viral. Did you see that clip?
I'm sure it's true.
Who saw that clip? He saw that clip. There was a clip. I don't know. Someone was talking to some guy who maybe was some professional about animals eating you. I don't know what the fuck.
Okay.
But apparently after you die, like cats eat you really quick.
Right.
And dogs wait a little longer.
Right. Yeah,
You know?
cats are vicious bitches. I don't like
they're
cats.
fucked, man.
I'm a dog. I don't have pets at all because I got too many kids. But I don't. People who have pets, good for you. I think sometimes actually being an owner of a pet is harder than a child because it's like.
There's no way.
I think it's harder, man.
There's no way.
I don't know, dude.
There's no way.
I feel like it is. I feel like at least the kids, sometimes they'll listen. You can just fucking throw them in the car. They'll sit in the car. So I could strap them down. With these dogs, I don't know, dude. Well, I don't know. You don't have you think having dogs is easy?
Yeah, my dogs are really well
They are.
trained, well
You got
behaved.
big dogs too.
We had one big dog, 2 like medium-sized dogs.
Do you think once you have kids, you'll get more dogs or less dogs?
I'll always have dogs. I don't know if I'll have more than 3.
But it doesn't so because the thing is with me being a parent, obviously kids always want an animal. They always want a pet. And the thought of like getting my kids, like bathing them, feeding them, getting them to bed, how much that takes, and then having to fucking go walk a dog, I can't do it. I can't even fathom.
That's crazy because it's like
Doing that.
relaxing.
See, but I got to get to that place because I don't hate animals, but I don't want to be responsible for them too. You know what I mean?
It's easier that you can be on a walk and just like, honestly, it's relaxing. And then,
Maybe I had bad experiences then. I had a Dalmatian. Her name was Cruella. And when I was 10, that was her name.
That's no way.
That was her name, Cruella. I was 10. My mom let me name her, and I was a gay little queen that loved
Nice.
101 Dalmatians. And
So you named her the villain that was like trying to kill
yes.
the dogs.
And then she ate. I let her go in the basement once. So my mom told me to put her in the cage, and she just wouldn't go in the cage. So I just let her go in the basement, and she ate all of our Clorox and was dead on the floor. And I found her. So maybe that's what fucked me up.
That's traumatic.
Yeah, maybe.
Fuck. That's why you don't want dogs, bro.
Yeah, dude.
You fucking killed one.
I killed one. I was the original Tide Pod challenge.
Jesus. That's dark.
Yeah.
Fuck. You should redo that. Get a Dalmatian,
Well, I mean, my girl, Jasmine, she wants a dog. She wants a pit bull, Puerto Ricans, and she wants one. But I'm like, no. All I've heard. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm a victim of this. You're a dog lover. You know about dogs. You tell somebody like me, very uninformed, I am purposely, and people do this with politics and the news, I'm purposely making myself uneducated and being ignorant. I would tell you, I'm not going to get a pit bull because I know it's going to kill my kids.
Yeah, that's insane.
Because that's what you hear on the news.
They're like the nicest, sweetest dogs
But the news
ever.
will cherry pick any time a pit bull kills someone. That's what's on the news. So that's what someone like me who's choosing to be uninformed. I'm like, all pit bulls kill people.
Yeah, it's funny. No, because it's all how you raise the dog, and they're actually the sweetest dog.
They're not going to hurt anybody.
Fuck no,
Unless you train them to.
Exactly, because they can be built to like have that sort of damage, right?
Right.
But you'd have to treat it a certain way to get it to just elicit this damage on something. Like
Okay, but now what happens if in the middle of the night somebody breaks in? The pit bull's going to go after that motherfucker.
if you train it, I mean, the pit bull, it depends how you train. All dogs, it's all how
Right.
you train it, because like it's not just going to innately try to kill someone.
Right.
No, unless you teach it to like attack like an intruder. It's not just going to.
So the owner, so any pit bull that kills a dog, you have to kill the owner.
You have to. I mean,
The owner is the one who made that a weapon.
something, unless someone before was like treated bad, they rescued it. Who knows what came along with it? Because it's all how it was treated. Because the dog. The thing is, it's not dog just not a killer. It's just built to be able to kill. But
I don't want to get them anything with like that move. I'll get them like a parakeet.
No, dude, get them pit bull. Pit bulls are the sweetest dogs. Get a pit bull, rescue it like from a puppy, because there's tons of them. Both those dogs in their rescues, both the pit bulls, and they're the sweetest dogs on the planet, bro.
You don't. Understand.
One might kill something though.
Right.
One of them might.
Because like you think he's just a little fucked up.
No, because that one just kind of has a little hair trigger on her.
No, I'm
But
telling
it
you.
would never attack a baby though.
When I walked in and I saw the pit bull, I felt it in my asshole. I was so
No,
nervous.
be honest. When Bam's the sweetest dog on the planet, she came up and she went, "Ooh!" She gives a little howl because that's like a greeting, like, "Oh, friends." That's how dogs do. For a second though, because it kind of ran up to you and your friend, were you like, oh fuck?
Yes. Yeah. Well, Don could tell you I didn't want to walk through your front door because I was like, what if there's dogs in there?
Before you came in.
Before I entered your front door, I was like, I don't want to go, like your little courtyard. I was like, I don't want to go in. There's dogs. And he was like, dude, just walk in the door. The dog, you'll pet the dog. I'm like, no, it's going to attack me. He's like, walk in. And he went in first, like he was fucking ops.
The dog,
like he was a Navy SEAL. He went in first, and I walked in behind him like that.
Because Bam really did go, ooh. And I saw you guys like, oh.
Yeah.
You guys froze up for a second.
I'm not a dog guy. I'm not a nature guy, but I'm trying to change.
You don't like nature?
Trying to change these things.
Listen, such a New York thing.
I grew up in New York, man. I grew up in the city, and I had moved to the suburbs out to like, a nice suburban area of New York. And I lived there for 2 years, and I sold my house. I was like, we got to go back to the city. I need to be able to walk to the bagel store and see homeless people. That's how I live my life. I need to do it.
Homeless people. I could never live in New York.
Right. Are you from out here though?
I'm from San Francisco, but I grew up in like a small town just outside. I went to school in San Francisco.
Right.
But like, I don't like everything stacked.
Right.
I can't do it, man.
Right.
You like that?
Yes, it's
fucking nonstop.
See, I like the safety in numbers, and I like to be around a lot of people. I get lonely really quick, it's interesting. I hate being away from home. I hate going on the road. I hate traveling, and I'm a professional comedian that literally the only way for me to make a livable income for my family is to be doing the thing that I hate.
What the fuck?
Yeah. I mean, I have to find a way to love it. I love doing stand-up, but I when I'm on the road, my guys will tell you, like, I'm so lonely. As soon as I get somewhere, I'm like, I got to go home. I want to go home. I need to go home. And so I don't know why I think this way, act this way. But for me, when I'm in the city, when I'm back in New York, I don't know. I just feel like I'm in the flow where I'm supposed to be. I'm sure it's just, it's some fear-based. I mean, it probably all ties back to me finding my dog dead from eating Clorox.
Yeah. Maybe. Maybe.
What
else have you gone through? Anything else fucked up in your life? Anything like that?
9/11.
9/11.
Yeah, 9/11.
How old were you?
I thought 17. I thought my mom
Damn.
was dead. She worked in the second tower that was hit, so we thought she was dead, but she survived. She got out, and then she fell off the bus in Brooklyn. She escaped 9/11, like the biggest tragedy in American history, and then fell off the bus 20 miles away. And I was like, where to go? She's like, there was a hole.
The same day?
Yeah, the same day. She's like, there was a hole in the floor, and I fell, and I ripped my pantyhose. And she just had blood running down her leg. Because when I saw her, like with the blood on her leg,
you're like, oh no.
I was like, what the fuck? I'm joining the army. She's like, no, I fell off the bus. I was like, how did you escape Osama bin Laden? And then you fell off the fucking Q-55?
Fuck, what story was she on?
I don't know. Actually, like high 20s, 30s, enough where she would have been done.
Do you think that was a whole conspiracy or what?
Listen, at first, no. And I was like definitely one of those people that were like, well, you fucking say it's a conspiracy. What are you, with ISIS? But now as time goes on, and again, maybe, and I'm very aware of the fact that maybe this is just my algorithm pushing these things at me that can easily distort the facts. But it does feel like America wanted to go to war. I do understand now that we are a warring clan and that war is a business and that these contractors need to make money, and that I do understand that we will get involved with stuff to make money. That I think is crystal clear on both.
I think that's undeniable.
Undeniable on both sides of the algorithm. I think that, some head of state might even admit that one day publicly. We just know it. And so with that being said, I mean, I don't know, that happening and then you being in Afghanistan 2 weeks later, it's like no weapons of mass destruction there.
For a very long time.
Then proving all the people were Saudis on it. We didn't go into Saudi. So it starts to be like, it feels like it, The Building 7 stuff, I mean, I don't know. I mean, they present an argument that's pretty plausible, like that. Feels. Though I did watch one thing about how on 9/11, how there was a fifth plane. There was a plane that never took off. There was a plane that was supposed to.
And they stopped it on the
runway. I didn't even know they stopped it. It didn't take off because 9/11 had already happened. So they did a full ground stop. And then this plane didn't take off. And the flight attendants on that plane, I saw an interview with them. They said there were like people it was a pretty empty flight. There were people in first class. They said there was one. They remember that day. They were like, because they had told the pilot, we have before 9/11, before anybody towers got hit, They were like taxiing. They were like, listen, there's 4 people in first class that are acting very strange. We don't know if we should take off. Like maybe we want to get, security on here or something. They said it was, a Middle Eastern guy and a little child. And the Middle Eastern guy was like screaming at the flight attendants, like, we need to take off now. Like, skip this line, get off. I'm late for a business meeting, which is like weird. It's like, obviously they can't skip on a line when you're taxiing. But this guy was like, he said he was dripping in sweat, which they were like noticing, like it wasn't that hot that morning. So like, why is this guy dripping in sweat? Then they said there was a woman sitting in a full burqa with like just the eyes, but they knew it was a man. It would look like a man. Like it was like he had like legs like a man. It felt like it was a man, but she's dressed as a woman. So it was alarming to them. We're like, this is 2001. This like nobody's trans, like openly trans yet, or very few people. So it's like it's not like they're like, we respect like what you want to do, how you identify. They were like, this dude,
sense.
Are you a guy dressed like a Muslim woman? And so, but they let the captain know, and he's like, listen, like whatever, we got to go. We'll deal with it. Then there's a ground stop, right? So they get off the plane, whatever. So they're, taking, they're leaving. They get off the plane. The flight attendants, the people get off the plane, and then the flight attendants get off the plane. And the flight attendants were the last people to get off, right? Usually they're the last people to get off. A maintenance worker, I think it was United, a maintenance worker from United came onto the plane and said, oh, they said that they want me to, lock up this plane, which she said was rare, but it's not unheard of. These airport employee, but whatever. So they go, they lock up, he locks up, whatever. The next day, they're told to just stay in their hotel, their airport hotel. The next day, the FBI, I'm sorry, not the next day, 2 hours later, like immediately, the FBI knocks on their door. They get the pilot and all the flight attendants in one room. And the FBI is like there, ready to go. They're like
2 hours after.
2 hours after. It was immediate. I thought it was the next day, but it was immediate. So they say to the FBI says to the flight attendant and the pilot, why was the floorboard open in the cockpit? And they're like, what are you talking about? They're like, the floorboard was open, and we found razor blades on the floor of the cockpit. And they were like, what are you talking about? Why would we do that? We didn't do that. None of us did that. And then the flight attendant remembered, oh shit, the maintenance worker was the last one in there. So they think that the maintenance team, there were people involved on the inside. They were already working for the airlines that were involved trying to get weapons onto the planes for these potential 4 hijackers, the people who were acting strange. And that was going to be the 5th plane. And also, furthermore, one of the plane, however they number the planes, like, T1, 2, 3, 4, one of the planes, when they parked them, there was planes, this plane that I was talking about was like, say, T1, 2, 3, 4. Well, plane T1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they found box cutters in the first class seats, and the 4 first class seats that these other people were sitting on, they found them in another plane with box cutters in the back pockets of the aircraft. So they must have fucked up and put the box cutters on the wrong airline. So they were like, how much of an inside job was this within the airline? How many people were really at play is like a mystery. But it was a very interesting documentary I think it was called The 5th Plane.
You know what's interesting? What if you just made all that up, just completely made up story?
Well, this is
and
what
then you just hack the algorithm.
Well, this is the thing. This is why I'm a professional comedian, because I did make all that up.
Imagine.
If you want to see me on tour, ChristyComedy.com. I'm sold out in half the fucking country.
That'd be a great, dude. Yeah. You got me locked in.
Yeah, dude.
No, I know that's real. I think I saw this one as well. But
yeah,
I mean, the whole thing just screamed like. I think I had a guy on here the other day, my buddy Zerka, and he was like, anything that's like a conspiracy that they promote, like, is probably not a conspiracy.
Right. Yeah, because that's a good point, because that would probably be more of like a distraction. But
right.
I'll tell you what, I had a CIA agent on my podcast a couple of weeks ago, and it was interesting. I said to him, listen, dude, I know that there's
Tell me the fucking secrets.
Yeah, exactly. I'll jerk you off.
Motherfucker. Or I'll jerk you off?
Yes. Why not?
Or I'll jerk you off?
Yes. Or I'll jerk you off.
Okay.
And so I get wild, I have a fun pod.
Whatever.
And so I said to him, I know that you can't say stuff. I know that there's secrets. I'm aware. but like what you as an individual, he has a wife, kids. I said, what keeps you up at night? What have you learned through your past 20 years that genuinely keeps you up at night where you're like, fuck, I wish I never knew that. And I'm paralyzed with fear because of this secret that the American public doesn't know. He was like, there's a couple
That's a great question.
I'm a professional.
Fuck, that's a really good question.
Yeah, there's you can take it, you can have it. He said there's a couple of things obviously I can't tell you. It's like secrecy and sworn.
But if you got this guy drunk and jerked him off, he'd probably tell you.
100%.
Yeah. Okay.
So I said, what is it? And he said, the thing that I can share with you, this isn't the number one thing, but this is up there. He goes, the thing that I can share with you is our power grid. We can be put back to the Stone Age, like pre-colonial times, within 5 minutes. If our enemy gets at our power grid, he said our power grids are the most vulnerable power grids of any first world nation. People will able to hack them in a second, and you would have upwards of 100 million people dead in this country alone within 6 months. He was like, because I'm talking about no power, no water supply, nothing. For 6 months, we would not be able to get it up for at least 6 months. He goes, now we're working retroactively to upgrade
Should we
these
be
things.
saying this?
Well, he said, it's pretty public knowledge to the powers that be. But he said that is a thing that absolutely we are in jeopardy of. He was like, it's not a nuke. No one's going to nuke us. No one's going to invade mainland USA. He goes, even terrorists, it's like, it might happen again, but it's not gonna debilitate you. He's like, we stop this shit all the time. We're really, weapons and all that. We're so far ahead of every other country. It's not even close.
So someone's gonna come flip a light switch and we're fucked.
He said, but that's how they'll get you. He said, if China's gonna go into a world war with us or Russia, mostly China though, he said we're not invading them. They're not invading us. It's not gonna happen. And he said, he was like being diplomatic about it. He was like, our army, our military is 10 times better than anybody else's military in the world. We would crush China in a fight. He said, whatever the people want to say about U.S. military being weak it's all bullshit. We spend our military budget is more than every other country's budget combined. He was like, but it is stupid. There's no reason to have these weapons like this anymore because they can hit our power grid and then we're all fucked. And that's what we're vulnerable at, where other countries aren't. He said other countries have taken money and instead of building nukes and tanks and, flying fucking soldiers, they're upgrading their tech systems that they're impenetrable. So he was like, so that's the thing that keeps me up at night.
An agent's gonna wake up in 2 weeks and just be gone.
Yo,
I know, dude.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
No, he told us some shit, dude. It was crazy. So there's also another conspiracy. This is an interesting one, and it didn't, like make it on the pod, and we edit everything out. But he was saying that because there was a conspiracy that one of my friends brought to my attention that when Trump travels, he still travels with a presidential motorcade, which like no ex-president, Obama, nobody gets that. It would be like $2 million a fucking day just to travel. You can't do it. He still has a full presidential motor wherever that guy goes. Fucking motorcycles, limos,
Fuck yeah.
Same shit. Because some people think there's a conspiracy about some type of clause that he signed maybe before January 6th, after, where he's actually still the president. He still has all the presidential power. And somehow, I don't know. It's deep. It's deep. It's deep, right? It's fucking deep out there. And that Biden's not really the president. Trump still is, based off this motorcade.
So this is cut out of the podcast?
Yeah. So I brought that up to him. And he goes, I can't comment on that. I won't comment on that. And he goes, as a matter of fact, edit out you even asking me that question. I swear to Christ. And I was like, what? Fuck? And then he was open to anything else. He was like, edit that out. And then when we were leaving, he goes, make sure you edit out that question. Don't even ask me that. I was like, sure.
What the
Well,
fuck?
you've confirmed it.
We shouldn't be talking about
Should we put that in? I mean, bro, it just none of it makes sense then.
It doesn't make sense.
None of it makes sense.
It's one of those things where, listen, dude, I don't know the intricacies of the political world. I don't know any of that shit, but I do think, we know how dirty it is now. There is no difference between the Biden family and the Trump family. It's all the same shit. It's all the same things. It's just, and somebody, like, I use my mom as a gauge of things. I usually use my mom as a gauge of, if you're really actually famous, my mom would know who you are, because like that's how you know you're like. I mean, fame is a different thing now. It's like fame isn't what it used to be. It's not the same metrics anymore. But like my mom, like she is your classic American citizen that sees the news and believes that nobody's lying and that what the news tells me is hard fact and truth. She's like a classic mom. Like, I will not question it. You know, alcohol is good for you because the government said. Marijuana is bad for you because the government made it illegal. And there's just no further thinking. I go to church. I don't care that they molested little boys. I go to church because that's what Jesus tells me to do. Like, that's how she is. And even she is starting to be like, you know, these politicians are bad people, honey. Yeah. And I'm like, yes, they are, Mom.
But that's the crazy thing is like my mom very similar. I'm just shocked that there's people like willing to attack each other like so like crazy on the internet about this opposing viewpoints that it's like what you're saying I believe to be entirely true is like it's all fucked up. But like people want to be like, but I'm right though.
Well, even that with social media, it's like, or the internet, it's like you can't. How do you know you're not arguing with some bot? You might be arguing with AI all the time. I don't argue with any negative comment I see on social media. I genuinely believe in my heart that's probably a bot. That's all the other America's enemies, whoever you think they are, maybe even America themselves to cause division, I don't fucking know anymore, are spending billions of dollars a year on AI technology to cause division. So when you have someone fighting with you or you see something, some type of meme or whatever, it's probably not real. It's probably not human at all. It's some AI algorithm programming coder guy that was paid to cause division. Some Saudi Arabian, some Russian. They're just doing this.
What the fuck is the point of it? The division, just to keep people weak and stupid.
That, and then they make a lot of money. They make a lot of money on war. They make a lot of money when people watch the news. When we get divided and we get upset about something, and we watch the news that night to see a debate, to see our side heard on Fox News or CNN or what have you, they make a lot of money, man. You know, the ad companies make a lot of money when they get a lot of viewers. And the social media companies make a lot of money when we're on their app. So they're like, how do we get people there? We keep them mad. We keep them divided.
You know what's funny about this? I remember this was like, I guess, during COVID or pre-COVID. When did Trump become president?
2016, pre-COVID.
So pre-COVID. And then it was like to go reelected at what year?
He got reelected in 2020.
Okay. No.
Yes, he did.
He didn't. Yeah. Well, that's based on the CIA
guy.
He's
my president.
I'm saying.
Sorry, it's not yours.
No, he's the best.
He's the president.
So
sorry, Donnie.
Yeah, I agree. But so listen. So here's the thing, right? I remember during that whole like you know they're Biden this shit they're coming. I was like, wow, this actually makes sense to me. It felt like because mainstream media was dying so crazy. Because do you remember that period when like Trump came onto Twitter and then everyone on social media and everyone on the internet was like picking things he would tweet and put it on, like it'd be all over Instagram. It was everywhere. Like his presence as a president, like presidency started to feel like social media. Prior to that, like everyone prior never felt like, oh, this is everyone in the world's talking about in the world, as in our world, social media world, the Western world. We're all talking about the election and the presidency and like this corruption, this or that. I remember sitting back and being like, holy shit, this is the point where mainstream media realize how much power they've lost and how much viewership they've lost. And this is their massive play, President Trump, this big character to push everyone's interest to social media in politics.
Sure.
And after that, it's just been like, everyone is just like attacking each other as I guess people would have prior to like this like inception from like mainstream media trickling into social media. And like,
yeah,
that's what I remember thinking, like, this is crazy. Cause now it's like, because imagine if you don't have the people's eyes or ears because no one's tuning in anymore on the television, how are you dividing or controlling or like moving people? And Trump became that president that pushed everyone to that. Oh, right. Now it's relevant on social media.
Right.
Because I remember that very clearly.
Yeah. I think, well, now, all the powers that be, the money, the advertising money, like you said, it's all on social media. That's where it's all being pumped to the YouTube.
Yeah, every headline was so fucking negative. And I just remember thinking like, people don't realize that, because this is the truth, everyone listening. People don't realize that if you could, say you're on Twitter and you're CNN or Fox and you could be like, oh, CNN did this shit a bunch. They were like, this is like basically like if you're in this demographic, like almost like you're going to die of COVID. So if like, you're like, wait, I'm 35, you click on that link, the more people that can click on that link, the more money they could charge an advertiser to sit on their page and like a little sidebar so that because they go, we have all these people who are 35 to this age. Like they're literally targeting the demographic they want. That an advertiser is going to them saying how many people from this demographic, and they're like targeting it with a negative news headline to get those people in the door to push them to a product that's sitting on the sidebar on a website.
Right.
When before it was like you're getting people to tune into a television where it's like shooting it, and then there's like this, this pharmaceutical advertisement, or there's this other advertisement that was paying there, and that's all dying. Now they're just translating everything over to the internet, and people don't realize that.
No, and they get stuck. They get so angry at, like people make it their whole identity to hate someone they don't even know. Like they'll like I made a decision in my life where it's like, if I don't know you personally, I won't let you affect my life, positive or negative. I can't let you affect my well-being, because you're taking in, like, I'll listen to people, be like, I hate Trump or I hate Biden. I'm like, you don't know them. You know clips that the media shows you of them. You're making this up. You've never met these people.
Yeah.
You've never met the actress or actor you hate. You don't know Kim Kardashian.
Yeah.
You just know the little shit that's served to you. Why are you letting this affect your everyday life? If someone you know personally is in your space and all, sure, I get that. But other than that, I'm like, and I was victim to it, but then I got to a point where I was like, what? I know we're all one, and I know we're all connected. I believe in that, especially having kids. I believe in the spirituality of it. I believe that. Like, I get it. But it's also like, you have to protect your sanity a little bit, where it's like, guy, what the fuck do you want me to do about Ukraine? I can't help you. I don't know what you want me to do. What do you want me to do that there's injustices in fucking...
Give them all your money, dude.
In San Francisco. What the fuck do you want me to do? I live in I live in a fucking 3-bedroom apartment in New York.
Give them all your money, man.
Seriously.
You're just greedy. It's fucked up.
Yeah, I know. That's what they want. It's like, yeah. So I just don't, I watch the local news. I'm a comedian, you're supposed to be informed. I'm like, I just talk about what happens in my family. I don't care about what's going on in the news anymore. If we're going to I'll deal with it when it's on my doorstep. When the Chinese knock and tell me get in the prison camp, I'll say, great, my 2-year-old's been working for you guys a long time. Please give us a nice cell. Yes. Her name is Min Fung.
Stupid. So, fuck, that's funny. What do you, who do you think are like the top 5, you do top 5 comedians like of all time? Based on influence.
Bill Cosby. No, top 5.
Based on influence. I like that. Was good. That was good.
No, top 5 comics, I would say. Obviously, this is, subjective. Everybody, comedy is like a very personal thing. So I understand people but for me personally, I would say the top 5 are Louis C.K., Bill Burr, Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, and then I would have it between Kevin Hart and then me personally. He's not as famous as the other ones, and he died a long time ago, but Sam Kinison, old school Sam Kinison, that was my guy. I grew up watching him. I loved him. But those are the guys. But for me, on a very personal level, like motivated me to do comedy was definitely Bill Burr and Louis C.K.
Yeah.
Those are the guys that spoke to me, looked like me. Another comedian, it might be someone completely different. But for me, those were the guys, because I saw a lot of honesty in their comedy, and they weren't doing what I like about their comedy, and what I try to emulate in my own is when you watch a Bill Burr, Louis C.K. hour, they're not doing jokes. They're just being funny. Like, it's not like, here's my next joke. It's like they're just having a conversation with you, and it's fucking hilarious. And before the show even, begins, like, you think, like, before the show even ends, you're like, holy shit, this shit is over. I didn't even know it started yet. Like, I thought he was going to come out and do like, I was on the airplane today and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, no, he's just coming out and being funny immediately. And I like that. It's conversational. It's like just the guy at the end of the bar talking shit. I like Shane Gillis's new special that's out right now. That's very similar to that kind of comedy. And I like that. I like that comedy a lot.
It's almost like just who the people really are then.
Exactly. Any comic, by the way, who says, oh, this is my next joke, or they do actual written jokes, that's great. That's a big audience for that. It's just like not my cup of tea. I like that. I like the conversational comedy. And for me, I use comedy to just be like, it's cathartic for me. It helps me. But then also I'm like, hey, if I can help somebody forget about their shit for an hour, that's great. I don't have to be the biggest comic of all time.
That's what it is. I think that's the most important part of it, is like just kind of escaping bullshit. When I met Kevin Hart, he came to my gym and did like a workout, like shoot for some company he was working with. And he's actually a comedian that I met, and he was not trying to do a bit. I swear, dude, everything out of this dude's mouth was hilarious. Of
course.
Like, no cameras, nothing.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this guy's just fucking funny.
It's just naturally funny, man.
Like, not even trying.
He has it. Kevin Hart. It's like, it depends, like, what, he used comedy, I'm sure, as a skill. He's short. I heard from guys that knew him, he was getting made fun of a lot, and he just developed it like as like a defense mechanism, as like a survival mechanism, I meant. And so therefore you're going to get one of the funniest guys ever. He's not doing it to make money. Like, the money and fame came second. He was doing it because he loved it, and it was just like a good thing for him. So yeah.
Yeah. I want to go back to conspiracy theories a little bit. Do you believe in the alien shit? But I feel like when they came out and were like, yo, aliens are fucking real, I'm like, maybe they're fake now.
I think
they got to be real, though.
I think they got to be real. And I think that, there's so much, like people say, how big the universe is. There has to be more life than us. I would agree with that. I do think, if I had to guess, again, I don't know. If I had to guess, I would think that a lot of the UFOs and stuff you see is just our own technology that we're not being upfront about. Human technology, maybe the US and China, whatever. And maybe they found aliens and they reverse engineered it. But I think this whole idea of like the aliens are invading, if that did happen, I think it would be perceived, put off as aliens. Maybe they even look like aliens, but it's like the government's made those. I think like an actual real alien that's coming that the government had no idea was happening would, either eviscerate us right away or would just be different. I think that, we're seeing things in the sky that look like a flying saucer. It's like, also they look like the thing from the movies from the 60s. So I would think like if it was a real advanced civilization, it would be in colors and shapes that don't exist. It would be in things that you can't even fathom it at all. But it's like, if it looks like a perfect circle or a triangle, I'm like, yeah, dude, somebody made that in Nevada.
Yeah, we thought about that a long time ago.
Somebody just made that. It's like, I would think that they're not dealing with the same principles we are. But, again, what the fuck do I know?
Yeah.
I have no idea, dude. I don't even know. I might want to get a dog now.
You should.
At the end of the I think you've convinced me. I've come full circle. I think I want to go back and I want to get a dog. I want to get a dog. But I actually do. I would like a pit bull that's trained to kill.
You should.
That's
You
what
should
I
have a
want.
nice one and a trained to kill
Yeah.
one.
And you have to guess which one it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You decide which you keep it inside or outside.
Yeah.
Switch them out.
Yeah.
So your friends are like,
Yeah.
and get them like really similar looking so they can't really tell the difference.
Right.
And then they just play jokes on them, man.
Yeah,
but
dude.
okay, so conspiracy theories aside, let's talk about like the fact that you got a doctorate in physical therapy.
Yes.
What the fuck?
Dude.
Why
the fuck did I even do that?
Why did you do that?
I think at the time I wanted to, after college, I was looking for a career that I was like, I can have decent hours. I want to be a pediatric physical therapist, work in a school, which I wound up doing. I was like, I can get summers off, I'll get good health insurance, this and that. And then I went through school, became a therapist. And then I simultaneously started comedy while I was doing physical therapy. My third year of physical therapy school, I got into comedy. And then I was doing them both, burning the candle at both ends, pediatric physical therapist, comedy at night. And then it got to the point where was getting comedy. I was doing so much comedy. I was on a show on MTV called Guy Code.
Yeah.
And then I was missing so much work as a physical therapist to go.
You're like, fuck these kids.
Fuck these kids. I was tipping over their wheelchairs.
Yeah, fuck these kids.
Fuck them. And so actually the principal of the school that I was a physical therapist at, because, mostly mentally and physically handicapped kids, she was like, listen, some of the parents, know that you're on this show Guy Code and they don't have a problem with it. But the principal's like, I have a problem with it because I watched an episode, and the episode I watched was you for 5 minutes talking about the Guy Code to hiding your boner. So I was like, you can't treat children and also be talking about hiding your boner.
Fuck.
And I was like, oh,
that
shit.
conversation really happened, huh?
Swear to God. And she was like, so you're going to have to choose. And she was like, you'd be an idiot if you chose comedy. I swear to God. She told me,
that would have fired me up.
she was like, you'd be an idiot. And she was like, because, you have a great salary here. You're making $55,000 a year. You have full health benefits. And she was like, you've pursued this stuff. You should not leave. And I was like, okay. I was like, I really feel like I should leave though. And she was like, you'll regret this forever. You're going to regret this forever. And I was like, okay. So I called my dad and I was like, hey Dad, I just quit my physical therapy job to do comedy. He was like, that's fucking right. And, and he was like, but we can't tell your mother. And I was like, yeah, I know, because my mom would like lose her shit. He goes, listen, he goes, don't tell your mom anything. Just, this was March. This, school doesn't end till June. She was like, we're not going to tell your mother anything for 3 months. Nothing for 3 months. Don't say a word, nothing. And I was like, okay. And then he was like, until you get on your feet financially, because, I wasn't making any, you don't make much money at all in the beginning of comedy. He was like, you can live here with me in my basement. So I was like, okay, cool. So I was kind of, going to work every day, but I was really just going to coffee shops and writing, doing open mics, whatever. And then about 2 weeks into that, MTV called my manager at the time. I was like, hey, we heard Chris quit his job. He's been on Guy Code. We want to get him involved in our other projects here, on camera, off camera. What we'll do is we'll give him a salary to stay. He can only work for MTV. He can't do anything for VH1. He can't do anything for Comedy Central. Only MTV for the next 3 years. We're going to give him a salary. And I told you, he was making $55,000 a year as a physical therapist.
Yeah.
So they were like, we'll give him $150,000 a year.
Oh, baby.
So they fucking tripled it. And
Fuck that bitch,
and
dude.
I was like, in 2 weeks, you gave me exactly what I wanted, tripled my salary. And I was like, and then I haven't looked back since then. And it was kind of one of those moments for me where I was like, it was a risk, but I was like, my father had good advice. He was like, you'd rather do this now when you're younger, because you don't want to have any regrets on your deathbed. He was like, if you already they can't take your doctorate away from you. He's like, or you got your physical therapy license, you'll find another job. Yeah. So he's like, but if you don't do this now, you're going to regret it forever, and you're not going to want to live like that. He's like, so just fucking take a chance. And then I did. And now yeah.
Did you ever talk to that lady again? It's like, fuck you.
No, you know what? I never saw her ever again. I saw some of the therapists that I worked with, that they came to shows years ago. They came to shows and they're like, yeah, that principal fucking hates you.
For sure.
He hates me. And then, but full disclosure, you want to hear something fun? You want to hear something fucking really fun that I've never said publicly?
Yeah, I'd love to.
I had sex with her daughter.
Yo!
Yes!
That's fucking awesome.
Yes.
Fuck that.
Fucking sex with her daughter.
Yo.
Yes.
You're dead
I
serious.
swear to God, dude, I had sex with her daughter like 2 months later. Boom!
Oh my God. And you had to...
Yeah. Yes.
Did you take any extra money and like...
No, dude. No. And it was funny, dude, because her daughter, she was, she's cute and, and I was just like, oh, like I left, she's like, I know, my mom talks about, what a dumb guy you are all the time. And I was like, yeah, suck it. Yeah.
Bro, oh God. That's not just a joke though, right?
No.
God,
dude.
it makes it so much better.
Like your daughter.
Fuck, that's amazing.
Win.
That's a huge W.
Winning.
Damn, bro. I know that's got to feel good.
Yeah. But, I did cheat on my current girlfriend at the time, so I lost that relationship. But what can you do? And I got chlamydia.
Nice.
So it all balances out. Hashtag
That's
balance.
that's good. No, that's really good.
Yes,
I mean, you're learning lessons and,
the
that's
yin and the yang. Team China.
That's Team China. What do you enjoy doing the most now? Just making podcasts or doing, obviously, comedy?
Stand up. I do podcasting. I got to be honest. Podcasting became, when I first started doing podcasting, it became a thing that I was just doing it. Like, I loved it. The art form being free. I'm like, oh man, I can be funny and the audience isn't there. There's like less pressure, blah, blah. But then like anything else, then the money becomes involved, the ads, this. And I was using it as a place to sell tickets, which is the only thing I care about is, are my tickets sold? For me, that's my barometer of success. That's what I want. I want to go to a venue and the place is sold out and we have a good time.
All right, guys, quick interruption from one of our sponsors, ShipStation. I've literally myself with Raw Gear have used ShipStation for like the last 100 years. ShipStation is very, very easy as far as getting all of your packages sent on time in a timely manner. Everything's automated. They'll help and they'll grow with your business. Again, I've used it in the past. I highly recommend it. Right now, ShipStation, if you guys check it out, go to shipstation.com/RAWTALK and you get a 60-day free trial for ShipStation. I promise you, if you guys are like growing a business or you got a brand or like you're trying to, whatever you're shipping, whether it be like apparel stuff or parts or whatever you're doing on the internet, they're going to make it easier for you to stay and to grow like where you need to be. And it just makes all the processing just 10 times easier. So give them a shot. Again, that's shipstation.com/RAWTALK. You get a 60-day free trial and make your life easier, make your business run more efficiently. Let's get back into this podcast.
And so I was doing that, but then, then podcasting became so oversaturated. Then it started to become like, you got 2 podcasts, then you got 3 podcasts, and then there's hours of you're talking for hours a week, and then I got to do my stand-up at night, and it's like, you know, some of the material that I would have formulated as a joke, I said half-baked on a podcast, and I can't say something on a podcast and then do it on stage because the fans are like, hey, I heard you say that already. So now I'm at a point where I'm like, do I like podcasting? I know I love stand-up. I know that I want to do stand-up, but I always have. It's been what I've been doing for 15 years. But with podcasting, sometimes I'm like, am I at a point now where I'm just doing it for the money and I'm just doing it to sell tickets? Am I motivated? Do I really want to do this? Do I really want to talk hours a week about shit I kind of don't care about? Or do I want to just write my material and showcase my material each night in the way that I want to present it in 15-minute or hour increments? And then, you know, when the money will come from that. That's how I'll feed my family. But I'm in a tough spot right now because I've got my family used to a certain way of life. You know, people listen to my show. That's where I do sell the tickets off.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, with podcasting, you know, as you know, it's like you got to create the content, you know, create the formulated. I mean, you know, we have great people who edit and all that stuff, and they do things I can't do, but it's like come up with the stuff. It's mentally exhausting. And for me as a stand-up, it's like a lot of times I'll say something like, you know, we'll be having a conversation. I'll say something that is funny or I think is funny, and it's already out there. And I'm like, I could have fucking did that on stage.
Yeah.
I could have did that on stage. And so I'm in that thing where, you know, for me, if you asked me, like, if you were like what I would love to do, I really love to just be on the radio in New York, where it's like I'm home I'm just home every day. There's all these producers and people, they show up, they create the content, they create the, you know, the fucking what questions we're going to ask and what games we're going to play. And I can just be funny and free in the moment and do my stand up at night or do a TV show, even though I know it's not the same money or people don't watch it as much anymore. I would rather just do that and be home in New York and not, you know, have to like kind of think about, like, you know, when I'm out here in LA, it's like finding guests, being on show, doing this. It's like, really, I just want to do my stand-up. I really just want to go do the shows. And, you know, when I talk to my family, when I talk to, like, you know, my girl, she's like, you know, Chris, like, we have enough. We're living our life comfortably, like, as is. Like, you don't have to do shit you don't want to do anymore. Like, we're good. Like, the girls, my daughters, they're like, we'll be good. Like, we don't need to live like luxuriously. Like, we're good. Like, we want you to be happy. Like, if you want to be home more, be home more. Because I do make enough doing my podcast and doing my stand-up, but it's like there's like this thing where there's like no end to up. Like, you're already on the train trying to catch everybody. So you're like, but sometimes you have to like consciously be like, is this actually what I want to do? Because I never complain about stand-up. Stand-up, I'm always like, I'll keep going. I love just being in the moment, having fun, you know. But podcasting, sometimes I'm like, well, I'm doing a show now because, you know, HelloFresh already bought out the ads, and like I have to fucking show up here and do this. All right, so that I'm paying attention to that now. I'm not ready to stop yet. I don't know if I will, or maybe I'll try to find the motivation to do something a little different or whatever. But already, dude, I've been like, you know, it used to be 2-hour shows, then it was an hour and a half, now it's an hour. Sometimes I'll do 40 minutes, and it's like, you know, the fans will sometimes get mad at me. Be like, why aren't you giving me more content? And I get it. But there's also a part of me where it's like, I don't know that I want my whole life to be content. I don't know that I want you to know every fucking thought I have. Like, I want to be selective with what I tell you in my stand-up, because the one thing I do know, and this is good advice from Louis C.K., and this is when I really started thinking, like, he articulated what I feel. He was like, the thing is, Chris, you know, like when Louis and those guys were stand-ups, he was like, our only medium was at night, in 20-minute increments, hour increments, whatever our set length was. So we had all day to write and formulate our thoughts and come up with the best self-edited version of what we're going to say, right? So if we talked about our family, you know, the nearest and dearest, if we talked about our family, it was in probably a protective way about a family member or a close friend, about a situation. Like, we had kind of taken out the ugly parts, we had cut the fat, and we had went out at night and done it. And even if we were in the testing phase of it, nobody was recording it. Nobody saw it but us, right? And the audience, and they would forget. So we would put a product out there. By the time somebody saw it on television, it had been edited, run through the ringer. Like, nobody's feelings were going to get hurt about this bit. He was like, where you will go on a podcast and tell a funny story about a family member or your children, and it's not formulated the right way, and you're not realizing that there's going to be major repercussions for the people you're talking about, not tomorrow, it's going to surface because the internet's forever, as opposed to your stand-up. When you formulated a joke for a year, you told this story about even if something precious like your daughter, it's in a great way. Everybody loves it. Your daughter would probably love it. It's fine. As opposed to just being like, oh, dude, my daughter shit in the pool yesterday. And then some fucking dumbass thing. And he's like, your daughter's going to face you when she's 16 and be like, why am I getting made fun of in school for something you said in 2014? That's a reality you live in. So he's like, so I would cool it with, he's like, all you kids, he calls me a kid, I'm 39, but he was like, all you kids, your group, you all think you have to show the world everything all the time. He's like, you don't have to do that. He's like, as a matter of fact, like, don't you think it's better? He was like, wouldn't you want to be a bit more mysterious? Wouldn't you want to be a bit less accessible for your fans? He was like, he asked me, he was like, why don't you try to not be anywhere for a year? Don't post shit. Don't put out stuff. Just write. Just fucking write. And then come out with some banging new hour. And I guarantee you that year you'll catch up. He was like, look, it used to be you guys make, like you comics now, you'll get on the road, you'll start to make money, you're selling ads, whatever. He's like, my generation, like, yeah, I wouldn't make the money every week like you are because of the podcast ads. He's like, but I'd sell my special to Netflix for $15 million. I'd sell my show so I make the money. I'm just, and I'm making it in one big lump sum that'll get me through life, but it's like, and it's all edited and exactly what I wanted to say and exactly what I wanted to do. I wasn't being fast with it. I was being slow with it. He was like, you guys, everything is fast. Get it out, get it out. He's like, I'm telling you, I promise you, I've been around for 35 years. You are all going to regret this. I know it he was like, I know it. Like I know every cell in my body. He was like, you are going to all you guys are going to regret the bullshit you're putting out. Just stand-ups he's talking about. Yeah. So you should be extremely careful with what you want to do. And I was like, wow, I've actually, again, I couldn't articulate, but I was like, that's what I've been feeling. Like, even when I would put out my crowd work clips or even when I put out some podcasts, I'm like, what the fuck am I saying? Like, what am I saying to these? I don't even know what I'm saying. I sound like an idiot. Where my stand-up, sometimes, yes, I hate it when I look back at it because I'm like, that joke could have been better. But at least it was like practiced 100 times before I put it on Netflix or Comedy Central or whatever. So I think about that with podcasting where I'm like, is this the medium? This is the medium of the day right now. And is it like, am I going to be proud of this? And that's what Louis he told me in the podcast many times, like, you got to think, are you going to be proud of this? Or is your daughter's going to be proud of this? You have a family. Are you guys going to be proud of this? That's what I want you to think about. And he said, maybe some podcast episodes you will, but remember, it's all forever. So, and you guys are not like and I don't do this now, but when Instagram first came out, when I didn't think anybody was watching, even when I got after Guy Code and Girl Code, when I still had, call it 50,000 followers, so significant amount of people, I was posting pictures of my kids, my dog, only one daughter at the time, to fucking strangers, thinking this is good. Look at how cute what she did, because you're like sucked into the thing. Like, look at me, look at my narcissism, look at me. I'm displaying my fucking daughter, the most precious person in my life. Yeah. And I'm like, she didn't agree to that. Yeah. She's a child. It's like child abuse almost, where now I'm like, I would never post my kids publicly. I wouldn't do that. It's not right. That's their decision. I'm like, it's like a picture album that you have at home. If I showed that to the whole world, of complete 100% complete strangers, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing?
And Instagram owns it too.
Yeah, dude. I'm like, what am I doing? So, and listen, sometimes I beat myself up about that. Sometimes I'm like, we're all going to have regrets. So if you just learn it now and do what you can now, that's what I try to do. And, sometimes I fuck up and I forget these rules. But for the most part, I'm constantly thinking about, how much of my life do I want to share? Because money is like, you can always have enough money, dude. Somebody's fucking, it's not about having $1 million. It's like you can adjust your life to have enough money. When people are like, oh, it's easy for you to say, you're making a lot of money doing comedy. I'm not fucking making money. I work for Amazon. I come make money. It's like, yeah, well, you make enough money, dude. You just want a life that you're not working. You just want a life that's a little up. You want to live in $1 million mansion on the beach. Yeah, you can't work for Amazon. But if you can change your barometer, if you can change your goalposts and say, you know what, I can be happy in a studio apartment because I have the people that I love around me, and I can, drive to the beach, then you can be happy. You're not fucking mad at me. You're mad at yourself because you have your whole goals fucked up. Like, so for me, I'm like, I'm very aware that if I stopped doing a podcast, if I took Louis' advice, I wouldn't get the mansion in Santa Monica or, you know, Tribeca or wherever. But I don't need that. I realize like I don't need that. I have my kids. I have my life.
When did that start to change for you? Just because you had a conversation with Louis? Or like...
It started to change for me when I had my second daughter. When I had my second child, and I was starting to think like, you know, man, when I started to equate money and time, actually time being way more valuable than money to me, I started to think about like, and I started to ask some of the older comics, you know, about any regrets they had. It was the same regret from the guys from the top to my level to even below me. It was the same regret. They're all like, I wish I had spent more time with my kids when they were little. I wish I spent more time with my kids. And I mean big comics, Louis included. I wish I spent more time with my kids when they were little, man. So I'm like, okay, so I don't want to make that mistake, dude. I want to spend time with my kids when they're little. Because I'm like, I don't want to, what is this worth? What is this worth? Okay, yeah, I go on a fucking, you know, 25 city world tour and make $10 million, but I missed every event in my kid's life. Who gives a fuck? Yeah. You know? So, and I think, and listen, if you're a person who you think opposite, that's fine too. I'm not judging anybody. It's just how I think. I'm like, you know, and my girl, you know, Jasmine, mother of my kids, my girlfriend, she'll always be like, you know, Chris, like you always say like, oh, you just want to be able to have a show in New York and you don't want to have to be forced to leave. She's like, you have that already. Like you do your podcast from 20 minutes away from our house. Like you're choosing to go on the road and do all this because you think we need all these things. Like we don't need these. Well, we need you. We don't need, do whatever you want. Who cares? So I'm like, true. With that being said, please listen to my podcast.
I love it. I was like, love where this is going.
I have, you know, I'm Radio City sold out theater at Madison Square Garden. We have some tickets available. ChristyComedy.com. I do all the IRS a lot of money. I have Kansas City is not selling well.
We got to send more money to Ukraine.
Yeah, we got to send more money to Ukraine. Yeah. But yes, things are not going well in certain markets. Other markets they are. ChristyComedy.com. Please, for the love of fucking Christ, listen to my podcast. My Patreon is dying.
That was perfect. Full circle, man. I appreciate you coming.
Thank you, bro.
I got to come out to New York. I'll visit you.
Nice,
but
dude.
yeah, thank you for coming on.
I like you, man. And I have no idea what race you are. You could be black, Puerto Rican, white,
nice,
gay, a lady.
Yeah,
I have
race?
no idea.
That could be
a bear.
A bear, definitely a bear.
I have no idea. A big Armenian. I don't know.
Subscribe to the channel, post notifications, all that good stuff. Drop a comment. Who you guys want to see next? Thank you so much. We're out of here. That's it. Yeah. You crushed that.